On 31st of March 2026, 6 in the morning, tens of thousands of Oracle employees around the world woke up to find a 5-line email in their inbox. It was signed Oracle Leadership. No meeting, no phone call, no conversation with their manager. Just an email telling them their role had been eliminated, effective immediately. Their access to company systems already cut off. Now let that sink in for a second. You're someone who has spent years, maybe a decade or more, building enterprise software, managing cloud infrastructure, leading engineering teams. And your employer doesn't even pick up the phone. They send you an email at dawn and lock the door behind you. But here's what makes this story even more uncomfortable. Oracle didn't do this because they were a cash-strapped company. They were failing. No, they posted a 95% jump in net income last quarter. Over $6 billion in profit. Their contracted future revenue is sitting at $523 billion, up more than 400% year on year. This is not a company gasping for air. This is a company making record money and still choosing to fire up to 30,000 people in a single morning. And of those 30,000, roughly 12,000 were from India. That's 40% of Oracle's entire Indian workforce gone in one sweep. So the question is, what is actually going on here? What does this tell us about the future of India's tech workforce?
You're listening to Nelson John 360. Nelson John 360.
Hello, friends. Welcome back to Nelson John 360. I'm your host, Nelson John. Today, let me unpack one of the most consequential layoff events in recent tech history. We are going deep on Oracle's decision to eliminate up to 30,000 jobs worldwide to fund its own AI data center ambitions. Why India bore the worst of it, and what it reveals about the changing relationship between global tech companies and their Indian workforces, and what this moment means for millions of engineers and IT professionals who built their careers on the promise that tech was their safest bet in the room. So let me begin by setting the stage with the financials, because the numbers behind this decision are staggering and frankly contradictory. Oracle, under Larry Ellison's direction, has gone all in on artificial intelligence infrastructure. The company has committed to an AI data center build-out that TD Cowen estimates will require around $156 billion in capital spending. To fund this, Oracle took on $58 billion in new debt in just 2 months. In February 2026 alone, they raised $50 billion through a bond offering. And they're a key player in Stargate. That's Stargate, that $500 billion data center initiative with OpenAI that was announced at the White House shortly after President Trump's inauguration way back in January 2025. Yes, that's Stargate. Now, here's the tension. Oracle's stock has lost more than half its value since peaking in September 2025. It was trading down roughly 24% year-to-date as of March 31st. Multiple U.S. banks have reportedly pulled back from financing some of its data center projects. There are active security class action lawsuits questioning how Oracle communicated its AI strategy to investors. And the company's free cash flow turned deeply negative, hitting minus $10 billion last quarter. So how does a company posing $6 billion in quarterly profit find itself cash-strapped? Because it's trying to play the same game as your Amazon, Microsoft, and Google, except without the cash-generating machine those companies have. You get it? As one semaphore analysis put it, Oracle is behaving like a hyperscaler while carrying the balance sheet of an old-school software company. That's an interesting analogy. So, what was the solution? Fire 30,000 people? So according to TD Cowen, those layoffs are expected to free up $8 to $10 billion in cash flow. Oracle's SEC filing reveals a $2.1 billion restructuring plan, with nearly $1 billion already recorded. This isn't a company tightening its belt on a recession. This is a company sacrificing a fifth of its workforce to place a bet it can't yet afford. And here's something worth understanding about the scale of that bet. Oracle has announced it plans to raise $45 to $50 billion through a combination of debt and equity financing during calendar year 2026 alone. It's building AI data centers for clients like OpenAI, Meta, NVIDIA, AMD, TikTok, and Elon Musk's XAI. Its capital expenditure plan for 2026 is $50 billion, which is unprecedented for a company of Oracle's profile. And it's carrying total debt of over $124 billion. That's a staggering number, of course. But for context, Oracle's entire market cap has been fluctuating well below where it was a year ago. The debt-to-equity ratio is the kind of thing that would normally make investors run for the exits. But Larry Ellison is doubling down. On a recent earnings call, he told analysts that what he calls as the SaaS apocalypse, the idea that AI will render traditional software businesses obsolete, would hurt other companies but not Oracle. He believes Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, or OCI, has a technical edge, particularly in high-performance networking for AI training workloads. And to his credit, there's real demand backing the bet. Oracle's remaining performance obligations, which is essentially the backlog of contracted revenue, stands at $523 billion. That's a staggering pipeline. The question is whether Oracle can deliver on that pipeline without the people it just fired. Now let's talk about where this lands in India, because the numbers here are genuinely alarming. Before these layoffs, Oracle employed roughly 30,000 people in India. The layoffs wiped around 12,000 of them. That's a 40% contraction of the Indian workforce in a single day. Not a quarter, not a fiscal year, one day. Yes. And these weren't outsourced call center staff. These were the core team: engineers, architects, database administrators, ERP implementation specialists, cloud infrastructure professionals, program managers. The roles that form the backbone of enterprise technology. Teams across revenue and health sciences, SaaS and virtual operation services, and NetSuite India Development Center all saw reductions of 30% or more. Even senior managers and directors were caught in the sweep. Michael Shepard, a senior manager at Oracle, said publicly on LinkedIn that the layoffs were, and I'm paraphrasing it here, not related to individual performance. High performers, recently promoted employees, and longtime veterans were all shown the door alongside everyone else. One account that went viral on Reddit was from a user who said his father, a 20-year Oracle veteran, was let go while undergoing cancer treatment. 20 years. Not even a phone call. That's terrible. The severance structure for Indian employees reportedly follows a formula of N plus 2, meaning the number of years worked plus 2. Now, it's paid out in months of salary. That also includes notice pay, leave encashment, and gratuity where it's applicable, plus an additional 2-month salary top-up. But that 2-month bonus is reportedly contingent on voluntary resigning, which is a bitter pill for someone who just got fired at 6 a.m. via email. And there's more coming. Multiple reports indicate that a second round of layoffs in India is expected within a month. What made the India cuts particularly jarring was the way that was executed. Reports from the professional networking platform Blind, where verified Oracle employees shared real-time accounts, described a coordinated global operation. Emails were sent out at 3 a.m. Pacific time in the US. Indian employees working in a different time zone got theirs during early working hours. Slack accounts were deactivated. System access was revoked before most people even had a chance to process what had happened. There were reports that Oracle had installed monitoring software on company-issued laptops capable of logging all device activity, with warnings circulating among affected employees not to copy any files before returning their machines. One report that emerged on Blind claimed that one of Oracle's very first employees, someone who had been with the company for over 40 years, was among those who were let go. 40 years of service and then a goodbye was a pre-dawn email. It's important to note that Oracle has not officially confirmed the number of people affected. Business Standard, citing sources, reported a more conservative figure of around 2,500 in India. But employees and most other outlets put the number much higher, at around 12,000. Well, either way, the scale is enormous, and the manner in which it was carried out has drawn sharp criticism. For a moment here, let's zoom out a bit, because Oracle's layoffs aren't happening in a vacuum. They're part of a much larger and more uncomfortable pattern. India's IT sector employs over 5 million people and contribute roughly 7.5% of the country's GDP. For decades, that model was straightforward. Global companies hire Indian talent because the skills are strong and the costs are lower. India became the world's back office, and then its engineering floor, and then its cloud operations hub. It worked extraordinarily well. But AI is putting that model under serious strain. The fundamental logic of hiring large Indian teams to handle implementation, testing, support, and operation is being challenged by tools that can compress what used to require 10 engineers into work for 3. Oracle's co-CEO, Mike Cecilia, said publicly that AI coding tools were enabling smaller teams to deliver solutions faster. Meta's Zuckerberg has said much the same thing. So has Block's Jack Dorsey. These aren't vague, futuristic predictions. These are CEOs explicitly stating, we need fewer people now. And it's already happening elsewhere in India. TCS announced 12,000 layoffs in 2026 financial year, citing what they called skill mismatches. Amazon, Meta, Pinterest, and Atlassian have all cut Indian jobs in the recent months. A rest of the world investigation from earlier this year documented a wave of suicides among Indian tech workers, driven by the combination of AI-fueled job insecurity, grueling work hours, and a labor market that has tightened fast. India's urban unemployment rate has been climbing. Youth unemployment among those aged 15 to 29 in urban areas spiked to nearly 19%. The country produces over 1.5 million engineering graduates every year. And these graduates are trained for the entry-level coding, testing, and support positions, are precisely the ones who are the most vulnerable to AI displacement. The WEF, World Economic Forum, and McKinsey have both warned that a significant portion of existing tech skills will be outdated by the next 4 years. And India's industry body NASSCOM has acknowledged that some workforce rationalization is expected in the near term. That's a polite way of saying more layoffs are coming. There's also a structural dimension here that doesn't get talked about enough. For years, India's tech workers have been the beneficiaries of a global arbitrage. Companies hired in India because the talent was strong and the costs were lower. The model built cities like Bengaluru, Hyderabad, Pune. These aren't just tech hubs. They're entire urban economies that were built on the back of IT services. When 12,000 Oracle employees lost their jobs in India, it's not just 12,000 families affected. It's the restaurants, it's the housing market, the schools, the local businesses that depended on the spending power. And the timing couldn't be worse. From a report last year, according to CNBC, it noted that India's urban unemployment rate had been climbing steadily, with youth unemployment in India in the urban areas among those aged 15 to 29 reaching nearly 19%. 19% of unemployment in urban areas. The IT industry, which has been the single most reliable path to middle-class prosperity for millions of Indian families, is no longer offering that guarantee. And no government policy or industry program has yet emerged at the scale needed to address what is clearly becoming a structural shift, not a temporary correction. Right, so let us bring this home. If you're an Indian tech professional listening to this, what should you actually take from this story? First, the painful truth. The playbook that worked for the last 20 years may not be working for the next 10. The era where an engineering degree from a good college, a few good years of experience at a services company, and a jump to a product firm like Oracle or SAP could set you up for life. That era is ending. Not because the skills aren't valuable, they are, but because the companies that once needed 20 people to deliver a project now believe they can do it with just 5. Second, and I believe this is critical, the displacement isn't just happening at entry level. Oracle didn't just lay off a bunch of freshers. They laid off their core team, architects, principal product managers, senior engineers, people with over 15, 20 years of experience. The Outlook business reported highlighted Harikesha Narsha, a group manager in software development who spent 16 years at Oracle India, waking up one morning to discover his journey had come to an unexpected end. His words were striking. He said his mind still instinctively drafts to-do lists for projects that are no longer his. Third, the absorption capacity of Indian job markets is a real concern. Where did 12,000 experienced Oracle professionals go? The broader market is already under pressure. Amazon, Meta, and others are cutting simultaneously. The number of open roles in enterprise tech has not kept pace with the number of people being let go. Cities like Bangalore, Hyderabad, and Pune, the hubs that power India's tech story, are all feeling the squeeze. And fourth, there is a ripple effect that goes beyond direct employment. Oracle's ecosystem includes vendors, contractors, and partners. Those layoffs will cascade outward, affecting businesses that depend on Oracle India's operations for revenue. So here's what I keep coming back to. This is not a simple story about one company making a strategic bet on AI. It's a story about how the global technology industry is being restructured in real time, and India is absorbing a disproportionate share of the cost. For 30 years, India positioned itself as the world's most reliable source of technology talent. The pitch was simple. We have the engineers, we have the infrastructure, we have the work ethic, and we are cost effective. That pitch worked brilliantly. It built a nearly $300 billion industry and created a middle class. But the AI era is rewriting the rules. But that doesn't mean, India's tech story is over. Far from it. But the chapter has changed. And, those people who woke up to that Oracle mail on the 31st of March are living proof that the transition will not be gentle. If you're in this industry, the time to adapt isn't next year, it's right now. Learn AI, learn cloud architecture, learn how to work these tools rather than competing against them. In this AI gold rush, people are the cost they're willing to cut. That's the story this week. Stay informed, stay curious, and most importantly, stay prepared. I'm Nelson John, and this has been the Nelson John 360 podcast. To connect with me, I'd love to hear from you all. I'm on Instagram. Look me up, Nelson John 360. I'll see you next time.